I said something. We talked about design system, and I said today we'll be looking at how to create design system for any project. Now, one thing you need to know is something about design system is that it's reusable, so you can use it anytime. You can create one now and just customize it as you like. And I know that some of you might have created design system in the past, or you know that at every point there are some designs that you'll be doing today. There's some designs you'll be doing that doesn't really require some of the components that you would that you need. So sometimes it's just advisable that when you're doing design system, just think of all the components you can think of, and just think of all the components you can think of and start designing it and just skipping them, so that when you need it to design a particular project, and even if you don't need to use it, you have it all there. So one of the importance of doing a design system is that it will help you to, we already know the importance, to help you to fasten any design that you're doing. Once you start designing, it's not going to take you back or drag you back for you to start going to look for different things and all of that. So I believe that we all understand that. Then we now need to create a design system. So this is what I do most times. I want to create a design system. I first of all pick up a frame, a desktop frame, or a desktop frame. I like using 144 by this. So I'll first of all keep this here, and then I start using each component. Some persons might decide to make it as long as possible. So that's why when I'm designing, there's something I do. I arrange my boards. So I'll just rename this to my asset page. So for anything I'm doing, I just know that anything mood board, all of those things, I do them here. Then I can add design. So the next thing I do is, remember that for design systems, it's actually very important that you rename anything you want to. You rename your designs very well, so that you don't get to become confused at any point. So the first I like starting with is color, because like I said in the previous class, getting color is one of my it's not like my very strong thing. So when I want to get color, I ensure that I start with it. So let's say color. I get color first. I'll just write it down, color. Uh, I'll just say color. That's the first one. Now I'll just pick up my text too and write what I want to write. Maybe the heading, I'll just say these are my colors or anything. Remember that there's no known approach of doing it. Some people might just decide to write colors. Some people might just say my color. Anything you want to use at this point is left for you. Just know that, just do what you need to do. So I'll just say color palettes or colors. So I'll just keep them like this, and I'll start. Now remember that if you're doing your color, or if you're trying to put your colors, you can either use a rectangle or circle. Now, depending, what I do most times is, if I'm given a logo to work with, so what I do most times is I just go. Remember that your color you need to have primary colors and secondary colors, accent colors, and all of those other colors. And it's also advisable that you create shades out of these colors. So it's not just creating the colors, you should ensure to create shades out of the colors. So I'll just say, okay, first thing first, I like picking my primary colors from the logo.
can't hear you again. Is it just me?
Anyway, so but you can see my screen. I'm actually looking for a logo to use. Of you that don't know, there's a particular plugin called All Nigerian Logos. You can install it. It will help facilitate your designs because you have a lot of logos that you can use there. So I'll just look for a logo that I can use since my All Nigerian logo is not working. Logo for health brand. I just need one logo. Why are you people giving me plenty logos? Okay, so I'll work with this. I just need to get the color from this. I'll copy it and I'll go back to my Figma and I'll just paste it there. Oh, my all Nigerian logo has opened. So I'll just paste it here. Remember that if you're doing what's it called, your design system, you can also include logos. Now, this is one mistake we make as designers. We don't ask the company for their logos. Now, if you want to design, first thing you need to do, ask the company you're working for their logos in different dimension, in different shades. Say if they have the horizontal logo, request for it. If they have just all text logo, request for it. If they have just request for all the types of logo that they have. Also request for different colors like pure black, because sometimes you want to do dark mode and you will now start doing all of those things. Remember that if this company has a graphic designer, you have access to all of those things. So request for it. So you can also convert your logo. You can also turn it to a component so that you can reuse them at any point, and it's going to be very easy. I'm just going to pick the color from here. I think I like this too, so I'll pick this too. This as my primary color and this other one as my secondary color. So I'm going to leave this two, or I'm going to use this two. So different naming convention, you can decide to name it. Can decide to name it from here. Primary color. So for me, I like simplifying everything. It's not about how complex your design is or how the complex name you use. It's just how you're able to get what you want to get. So then I name this as my secondary color. Secondary color. Now that I'm done, I'll just want to get shades. Remember that you have primary color, secondary color, accent colors, and all the colors that you can think of. So I need to get shades of this color. So there's a website I use when I want to get shades for different colors. It's called let me fix it here. It's called make tints and shades.com. Maketintsandshades.com. I'm going to send it to the chat now. So it helps me to make tints and shades. So I'll just add this and I'll say make tints. Then I'll come here and I'll put this color code, the first color code that I have, and I'll come here and I'll paste it and I'll make tints and shades. So now that I have all of these tints and shades, all I need to do is to copy it accordingly. So I'll copy this. I'll copy this. So you can see that it's a lot of work. So I'll come here and I'll paste that. So that's the first, this is the first, this is the original one. So I'll copy this one and I'll go and I'll paste it. So this is primary color. So for naming, I can just name primary color 0, and I would duplicate this, and I'll say primary color. I'll copy this. This is 10%. So I'll make it 10%. You don't need to copy all. Remember that you don't need to copy all. You just copy the ones that you need. If you don't need all the shades and all the things, you can just decide to leave it like that. But if you need all, you can copy all and go down till you get to where you're satisfied. This is even too big. This box is too big. Is it different from the tint and shade plugins? So I've never used that tint and shade plugins. Well, it might not be different. It's still the same thing. Any one you use that you can use to get what you want to get. So I'll just come straight to this place and copy that, and I'll paste it there. So, and then maybe this for black for my text, and I'm done copying what I want to copy. So I don't need to copy all. So now that I have this for my family color, so you can just decide to name all of them one after your family color 10%, and decide to name it, decide to use it to name it, and just give it the difference. This one is 40%, and I think this is 90, yeah. Then this is like 30, this is 20%, this is 40, and this is 90. And at the end, I'll just highlight all like this and I'll bring it downwards. And I'll duplicate this and I'll just give it down here and reduce the size of this and call it, this is my family color tab. So this is for my family color. I'll do the same. I'll copy all of this, duplicate it, and I'll drag it down. And remember my secondary color. Whoa, I already deleted it, so I'll rename this to secondary color. Secondary color, and using my color. Can I remember the color I used then? Oh, I can't. So let me just choose so it's not red, it was something around orange. Oh, I can't. So let me just use this color and I'll copy this. Now for see, you can also decide to write the color code. Like you can also decide to use the color code instead of this family one, family this. You can decide to include the color code and all of that. This is just for representation, for representing it. If you want to do the original, if you want to now start using it, you know that you have to save it as a style before you can start using it. So since I have this, let me still go back to my tints and shades and change this, and you can see the different ones. So I'll copy this here and I'll paste this. I'll copy the ones I want the colors I know that I would use at some point. The ones I won't use, I won't bother copying it. Okay, this is supposed to be the last one. Now, all these are for shades. I've not even copied the one for tints. I just discovered. So you can also add the one for tints. So let me assume that we all know the difference. For shades, you're adding black to the primary color, while for tints, you're adding white to the primary color. So that's the concept of tints and shades. Um, I need to reduce this box so that I can add more colors, or I need to reduce it so that I can add more colors. So I can now use this part for shades, for tints, sorry. I can just use this part for tints. And I'll reduce this. Okay, so for the lighter shades, I'll just get to include them here. Let me finish this. So this is 72, 72, 72. Imagine I used components for this. It would have been easier to change all of these things. So let's just go. Okay, so I have this, and next thing again, I'll just duplicate it, and I'll take for the lighter versions. I'll just take the lighter versions that I want, and just put it there. Lighter version. And then this and this. Okay, they're not the same. So I'll increase it, and is there any color that, see, I like alignment, so I'll just make sure that this is at the center of the board, even if it's for color palettes. Now, the next one is I'll get my accent colors, the different accent colors that I want to use. So yeah, I'll just see accent colors or accent color. So for this, I'll just remove the second rule because I won't need them. So for the accent colors, I'll need green for success. Check the green I want, any of the green. So yeah, I'll just name them directly success. Um, I'll need orange for See orange or yellow, one of these colors. I'll need it for warning. Yeah, I've not generated that. Okay, so I need to go back to generate it. Control C. It's already generated, but I did not save it that time. So did I just copy this? Okay. Yeah. So let me generate this instead. So we have this here, copy, paste. Uh, So now that I have this is for warning, and I'll get to do error message, and for error, and I would go for red. Red. Then two most important colors that you should always have, white and black. So I'll go for white. But for my white, I'm going to add a stroke so that I can see it, and I'll say black. So these are basically the colors I need for any design. So for black, remember for black you don't need to use pure black. So you can get black from here, but it should not be pure black. So I prefer using black colors from here. So let's say I have all my colors, all the colors I want to have. These are the colors I want to have. Now remember that it's not just about generating these colors or anything. It's about saving them. So I'll save them one after the other so that I can use it. So I'll come to this, and remember what to do. Under field, you just need to click on these four dots. So you just need to click on these four dots, and styles. You already have different styles. So I'm going to just I'm just going to click on plus, and then I would add the name of this style. I would say my family color. Then under description, I would say blue. Um, blue. How many percent is it? Blue 0, blue/0, and I'll create this style. So instead of this, I'll use family color. Sorry, family color. Now the reason I had to change it is so that I would know the exact family color I'm using. So family color, I'll say blue/0, and I'll save it. So family color/blue, and I'll say 0, and that's it. I'll save it. Then I'll go to the next one. I'll do the same thing. Family color blue. I'll go to the next one. I'll do the same thing. I would create this, and I would say still family color. I'll say blue slash how many percent is this blue? This is blue/10. So Now, did you notice what happened? That's what happens when you don't stick to a particular name. So I'm just going to edit this and I'll say primary color again. Color. And I'll say this is primary color slash blue shade. This is the first name I used. So I'm just going to say 10. 10%, and I would close it there. This is blue 0 and this is blue 10. So that's how I'll do till I'm done saving all of this. So that's why I said design system is not something you just do one bit and you leave it. So now that I'm done with my color, I'll go to the next one that I need to. The next, so I'll save till I get to this place. I'll save them one after the other. So when I start working, it's just going to be easy for me to see them around there. Now, don't forget the name that you would use to name it so that it doesn't get complicated or it is not as scattered as this. You have to remember the first name that you are giving to it. So the description is what should be different. The names should actually be the same. So now that I'm done with that side, I'll just go over to my text. Now for text, what I like doing is either you call it text or typography. Typography. And the different typography I like using is I like creating H1 to H6, like the normal like the normal web design. So I'll just bring it down here and I'll start creating. I'll say H1 say header 1. Now this is where I create every section for this. So I'd say heading 1 or header 1, anyone you want to call it. Header 1. Now for header 1, I would ensure that I use the text color that I already picked. Imagine I've saved it. I'll just change the text to be this text so that I know that if I'm using it, I'm not changing text again. Now, the next thing I like doing is remember that if you're designing for websites, your header 1, your H1 would actually be different from when you're designing for a mobile app. If you're designing for a mobile app, 48 is too big as your header 1. Your header 1 should be around 24. 48 is too big. But let's assume that I'm trying to design for this is for web. Now that remember that I said in the last class that you should try to consider for all. So I'll just get to write something. Yes, so permit to me. Let me just say website. Website. So I'll reduce this a bit. And I'll bring this here and I'll say header 1. Header 1 for this for website is actually okay. Then I'll change to this. I like creating for different font style, including this is extra bold. So I'll change it to bold. So I have this for bold. I'll do for semi bold. I'll also do for medium. So like I said, it's you might some persons might see it as a big work, but I prefer doing it like that so that at no point will I need a particular text and I can't find it. So this is for regular. That's how I like creating line. So now that I have this, I'll duplicate it and I'll come down. And for this, I'll just change the size to be the next one. The size, this should be 2. This should be my header 2. Header 2. Header 2 and header 2. The reason why I started doing like this is because I've been in situations where I needed to use a particular font size and I did not save it as part of my resources. So it was so difficult for me to start doing that. So after creating it like this, I'll still refit it down till I'm done with all the header that I need to get. This should be my header 3. This is size. Sorry, I did not reduce the size of this. This is supposed to be around 36 for me, and this should be around she should be around 32. So remember that there is no. So one thing I've come to realize when I'm designing is that I don't get to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is the standard. No, I like using that view option in Figma. So once I'm designing, I'll get to look at the design and ensure that it's so if I'm designing, I use my Figma Miro and I use my normal view of my system depending on what I'm trying to design. Now the whole essence of it is I try to view the design to see if I include, let's say you included 40. The reason why I like doing all of this is, imagine you set 48 as your font style, and at the end of the day you view it and you discover that 48 is small, or you view it and you discover that 48 is too big. You can still go back to change it and all of that. So that's why I don't like carrying a setting. I've heard people ask me over time, what's the right to use when you're designing for web? And my reply is very simple. There's no right font to use. I might tell you 36. I might tell you 48. And it's depending on what you are designing for, the screen you're designing for, and all of that. And remember that I'm using an 11-inch laptop. You are using something, say 15-inch laptop. And once you view your 15-inch, 48 might be as big, might be very big. And the same thing happens to when they code it and all of that. So for the fullness of time, I'll just give it like this, then add my body text. Then I'll say maybe body text and body text. Remember to do for all this medium and all of that. For body text, I'll leave it at 16. I'll leave it at 16 for body text. So say I'm done with this. This is for typography. Now the next one is icons. So what I like doing is any place, no matter where I get my icons from, say hello Stanley, your hand is up.
Yeah, okay. So for the body text there, I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe I missed it. I just wanted to, you only did 16. Like, is there no other like sizes? Maybe 14, 12 kind of.
Yeah, there's 14, there's 12. Like I said, for time's sake, I'll just stop
Oh,
at
okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah. Remember that.
Okay.
Is it important to add line height and spacing? Yes, it's also very important. So one thing I also like doing is, thank you for reminding me. One thing I also like doing is, at this point, I know that I don't have the actual text and all of that. I can just also set my text, like my text layer. I can just decide to drag first I'll go to this, right click, and I'll go to plugins, and I'll go to lorem into something like that. Then I'll just drag a particular text and I will keep it. then I'll auto generate it. After I'm done auto generating it, remember I'll change the color to my font, my text color. Then I start working on all of those things, line heights, line this, and I'll ensure that. So then this is bold. I'll keep it at medium regular. One other thing I like doing is I like justifying my text. So I'll justify it and I'll keep it there. So what I'll do is I'll save this also, so that if I get to put something like this, now I'll do three variation of it, which is I'll remove this because you know that it's not every place that this justify works very well. So I'll just leave it like that. Ensure that I set those line heights and all of that and leave it. So when I get to situations where I need to use it, I use it. Because if you just use this, it will always be at auto. That's why you see that most times for some people when they are designing, because they've already done their style guide, there's no space in between their text. So they just pick from this and start typing and do enter and all of that. And the text is still remaining, its text is still the same, all of that. So it's also very important that you do that. Now, there's actually a plugin that people use to rename all of these styles very well. It's called Badge Styler. So I'm just going to drop it. Badge Styler. That's a new. Let me also get the link here. Okay, so how many persons have opened the last link that was shared on that group on Discord? Like you've gone through the link, like you've read about design system. That was a lot of link. Like the links were plenty. Any person? So guys, let me just emphasize on the importance of self-reading or self-studying. So there's a limit to what I can expose to you, and there's a limit to what you can also get. Maybe from our next class, we'll be doing it like this. You would have to read about something and come in and ask us. So the way we learn in product design is not learning everything at once. Sometimes you might be learning something and you come across something that you don't understand. You do it in class and we get to discuss and get to explain that better. That way you would learn faster than expecting a particular topic, because there are some things that I would not be able to touch, even if we have 10 weeks or we have 20 weeks. There are some things I would not be able to touch. But then if you're reading on your own, you'll get to see some things and we'll get to figure it out together. So this is also another, you can use this to rename your stuff. Yeah, some people use different colors. That's also very okay. It's not something, design system is not something you rush. Even when you get to components, remember that to create components, you have to take your time to create components. For components, you have different kinds of components. You have toggle on and off, all of those things, form input. You get to create them one after the other. And in 2 hours, we can create all of that. So just bring in your questions. That's also very necessary for you to do, adding different colors and all of that. The essence of adding colors is so that when you're designing, you just get to pick and drop, pick and drop. You don't get to leave it like that. So now let me just change this to components. Let's say I wanted to do font. What's it called? Icons. So for icons, this is where I'll now go to Figma. I'll go to Figma and look for good icons that I can use. So let me, there's some I have that I can share. One of it is, let me just share this. Okay, so it's loading. So you can also get icons from this place called I think I've shared the link on the chat. Let me just share the link. It's called GitHub. So this is when you have an idea of all the icons that you need in your design. So you can see then they have 486 icons that you can download from, and they are all the same set of it's the same width and all of that. So you can start searching for them one after the other. But you can see how what's it called? How hard this is, because by the time you start, you have to download them one after the other as SVG, download them one after the other. Well, it's, let me just download five and we use for it. So I'll download this as SVG. Okay, I'll download this as SVG. You should actually have a way where you can, if you have time, this is actually a very good icon pack. You can decide to, by the time you stay and you use 1 hour, you can download as many icon as you want. So just download them. That's for this particular place. Then if you don't want to download, you can just go to community, or you create your icons yourself. Just go to community and say icon pack, view SAS. Okay. Okay, so while that is loading, um just delete this and bring in. So for anything I do, I like using what's it called? So you just get icons that you need. You like get the icons that you need. They are all components. So I'll just copy this few and go here. I'll just paste this here. I've gone to, okay. So I'll just bring them here. And now for the ones that are not already components, all you just need to do is to highlight all, and you see a drop down here. You can now create them as multiple components, including the ones you download yourself, so that you can see them under your assets, under your asset panel. And that, say, let's say this is our own icons. Now that we are done with icons, remember that it's step by step. We now get to buttons. So this is where you now get to create the different kinds of button you want to create using components. At this point, I'm just going to create the different buttons I want. So you can start with using auto layout, or you can decide to just create the button the way you want to create it. So let me just create the button without including auto layout. So for I like using 60 for my button. Now remember that there's a text that we did not even create here, which is your button text. So you can also decide to put it in your so I just say button. Icon save to. So there's no plus here. I'll just say add. You see one of the importance of you downloading your buttons yourself, because you have what's it called? So okay, so for the standard size of buttons, for mobile apps or even for website, I use within 45 to 60 pixel. 45 to 60 pixel, so that it's not going to be. So this Susu, it's for icons. It's for icons, but for button, your height should be within 45 to 60. So if you should exceed that, it will be so big. So always use within 45 to 60. When I mean within, so it can be 50, it can be 60 on the dot, it can be 48, it can be any of that, but you should not pass 60, so that is not so big and all of that. So this, I'm just going to use 50, and same thing. So the same size I used for button, that's the same size I use for input field. If I'm creating my button, say my button height is 50, my input field will be 50. So within 45 to 60, choose any range. Now, like I said, always view your design to see. 45 on my own screen might be so small, but on your own screen is not small, depending on what you're designing for. But always use this size. So what I do most times, for me to know if my button is too big or too small, I always view your design. But it should not, because of that rule of thumb where you need to place your once you put your thumb, you should be able to accommodate. It should not be too small or too big. I ensure that I use within 45 to 60. So now I'm going to create the different buttons that I feel like I would need in the design. Oh no, not I feel like, the different buttons that I'll need in my design. So I'll just create it, and I'll just create it. So for this part, we have 24. This is extra bold. No, I don't need extra bold. So for button, I have medium. and I'll change the text color to the color that we've been using before. I'll add my corner radius to, I like using corner radius 10. I don't like round too much rounded buttons, so I'll just leave it. Now remember that we have different types of button. We have the one with we have the one that will include. So let me use plus to see if I would see it. But if I don't see it, I'll just use any icon to do this button. And I'll just use any icon to add to this. And we're done. So I'll add Shift E to the icon and ensure that I make it to the 10. So now that I have this, I can now ungroup this. I'll group this together and I'll create a component out of it. So once I create a component, I'll add a property and I'll create a variant. So I can now start creating the different now I can now start creating the different buttons that I want. So the different buttons that we have, I'll create the fill buttons, I'll create the outline buttons. So and I'll create buttons with my primary color and my secondary color. Have I saved my primary and I've saved just few. So I'll create buttons with this. Sorry. I'll create buttons with this with the primary color that I already saved. And I would change this to white. I also create colors with my secondary buttons, with my secondary color. Here's my secondary color. Yeah, did you go to? So remember to always rename what you want to, you remember to always rename it. So I'll rename this to be button. And this is my primary button. Primary button fill. I'll say this is when it's when it's not. So someone should suggest a word.
Overstate. Over.
Yeah, overstate. So this is my overstate. So remember that overstate should be a bit dark. Now you see where our listing comes in play. The shades that we did. Why am I always taking it from the other place when I'm supposed to take it from down? And so this is supposed to be clicked. Let's say clicked. Then I'll do another one for overstate. So I'll just say clicked. Then for overstate, I'll use the what's it called? The tints. I'll use tints for overstate. So that's how you create your buttons. You start creating. This is when it's idle. Let me just use the word idle. Idle states. Suggest the word for me. If it's not idle, what is it? Unclicked.
Disabled. That's over.
Is what?
Inactive.
Inactive. Inactive states. Well, this inactive is so you can just make it. Remember when you're creating your own, yeah, disabled, inactive. Then you can also create for your secondary button. Secondary button, do the same thing. Then so most times it's better that you create for primary button one place. So I'll just click on this and see, click on this, and I will rename this to my primary button. My primary button, and I'll duplicate it and I'll place this here and I'll start changing the color. So this is it. So this will now be my secondary button. Secondary buttons. So I'll change the colors to the secondary. All the colors will be secondary there. So now say I want to create so we are intermediate. So what other components do you have here when it comes to buttons? Sorry, buttons. You have
Buttons
so
without icons.
yeah, buttons without icons. You also get to create buttons without icons. We've never done outline states, so
Yeah,
yeah,
and
just outline.
floating
So for
action.
for outline, it will be without field. There will be no field at all. For outline, this will be white, and there will be stroke. So it will have stroke. So let me see the kind of stroke I have here. So click on the rectangle and add the stroke to the rectangle. And then change the outline to sure you all know that when you're doing your own, I'm not expecting it to be like this. Once you start doing yours, it's not supposed to be like this. Your own would have to be very organized because you have to take your time to do it and not rush it like I am doing here. Okay. So we can do the ones without icons. Remember that one good thing about having this icon is you can always change the icon once you have your icon saved as a component. So you can always change the icon. So it doesn't matter the set of icons you use initially. It doesn't matter the set of icons you use initially. You can always change the icons.
Sorry, I want to ask, how do you when you are picking icons one after the other, is it that you have to make them components one by one, or how exactly?
Okay, so if you're downloading these icons yourself, some icons already come together as components. That's why they are icon packs. But if you're downloading these icons yourself, let's say you download all the icons that you need from wherever, or when you download it and you notice that they are not actually components, all you need to do is to highlight all, like you just get to drag all like that. And where under this convert to component part, you would see like a drop down. So once
Okay.
you see that drop down, you click on that drop down and you see make multiple components, create multiple
Okay.
components. So it will create all as a set. So when you're looking for it, now remember that any name that it downloads with. So if you search for say search icon and you download it and it downloads as search icon, that is what you do, the name that it will take here. Just like this, wallet search, money received. So you can now start searching for them. So sometimes it's also very important that once you get in your icons, rename them. So rename them with what you quickly understand, or what you quickly, once you spot it, you remember quickly. Because man, now the situation is getting tougher. Now sometimes you get to forget and you'll be looking for an icon that you already have. It has happened to me several times. I know how to forget things. So once I start looking for the icon, I can't see it. The only thing that can make me remember it is if I can remember the name, or I just know. So some of these icons, some persons will ask me, what's the name of this particular icon? People ask, what's the name of this particular icon? I really don't know the name, but any name I give to it when I'm designing, that's the name of the icon for me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so we'll create the different buttons, and then you now get to create the order. So for form input, so this is how I create my form input most times. But sometimes I don't like, except I know I'm in a, how will I put it? I have a lot of time. But if I don't, there are some things I really don't create from scratch. So for form input, yeah, nice. I can see that you guys are giving yourself what was it called? So I'd come here and I'd say name. And I would say 5 or 10, depending on what I want to do, and then I would reduce this a bit to 20. Always set the font that you want to use, and I'll come here. So let me just, I need to change my display. It's now in night mode. Okay. So what's the height of this? Let me see. This is 68, very over. So I'll just make it 48, like I've been saying, 48, and I'll leave it at this. So I'll remove this and I'll add a bit of stroke, and I'll add a stroke to it. So this stroke would be like, I'll make it as, remember to always save that too for your outline. Also save colors for your outline, guys. So for colors, you also get to include color for outline and so on. So now I'll now include the place. This is inner text. So if I decide to add an icon here, I'll still hide it when the time comes. So let me just bring in any icon and hide it. So you know that any icon, any number you set for your icon here, that's the number. That's if you are trying to change it, it will come in as 20 by 20. So let's say this is it, and I would align this together, and I would align this together, and I'll group this, and I'll group this, ensure that is aligned, and I'll group this. So something is missing. So remember that you can hide the new one. So this is these other text. So this is what is missing. So I'll just group all, Ctrl G, and I'll turn it to a component, and I'll come here and I'll create a variant out of it. So remember that you can hide any one you want to hide. You can hide it here, or you actually create a boolean out of it to hide it from there. So you can say this is your real state. Then for this, you can change it to error states, and under error states, you can decide to bring this also and change this to error. This is your error test and all of that. I feel like this is so big, so let's leave it like that for now. Then you can still and create what you want to create. Remember that you must have saved all of these colors. So the reason why I'm still picking colors for me is because I did not save all of these one after the other. All of these colors, I've not saved them. I was supposed to save them under my color styles. Also, remember that you'd save, so for everything you save also, including your text, you come to text part and you save it, create style, save it, put the name you want to put, add a description, and add any other thing you want to add and create the style here. So that is going to make it easy for you to just change or convert anything you want to convert. You can see how difficult it is for me because I've not saved them, because I'm rushing to meet up time. So you save it, you create all of your form inputs, and so know that once you duplicate it, you would be able to turn on anything you want to turn on from here and turn it off and all of that. Duplicate as much all the form infields that you would need here. You start creating them one after the other. Then also imageries. So most times we don't get to think of that, but it's also very important that you download all your images you want to download. So there's a particular design I was doing recently, and the owner said he wanted, so it's for drivers, and he wanted a style where for drivers, where once you click on the drop down, you should be able to see the name of the cars that you need to choose from. So I had to go and download all the images for cars. Like, he gave me a list of cars. I went to download all of them. Now imagine how difficult it would have been if I did not download all at once. So I downloaded all at once and I highlighted everything and created multiple components. So it was just very easy for me to do one and then duplicate, do one, make it a component, then duplicated it and started changing the from here. So I just go here and I swapped it, or I just changed it to, cause all the cars were now here. So I just started changing it and all of that. Toggle on and off. You can also do your toggle on and off button here. This is where you get to create all of them. Your toggle on and off, your imageries, your avatars. You create them one after the other. So you can keep going, keep creating them individually like this, or you can now start joining some together, such as avatars and all of them, all of those other things. So we are going to end to this class here. Is there any question?
Sorry, I have a question. So
Oh,
there are
okay.
cases where for input texts, like there was one I was working on and my colleague was telling me that I have to make the width and the height of the input text to be exactly like the button. Is it necessarily like that? Because I've seen
Yeah.
where input texts are short, some are longer than the buttons, and what have you.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard when I said it. For me personally, my button size is the same as my input field size, like the height and the length. So because I like something to be organized and uniform. You know that if this button if this button is longer, it will be, you would notice it easily. So for me personally, I like doing it like that based on, but I wouldn't say it's a law that it must be like that.
Okay. Because what I'm asking is,
okay, continue.
Sorry, continue. Okay, because what I'm asking, in terms of web and mobile, I think in mobile it's actually feasible to have like both the input text and the button to be the same. But for website,
Yes,
I
for
don't
web,
really know.
yeah. So for web, it's actually, so what I do for web is I take time to look at the size I want to use, and once I do that size, even my button, I take the same size. For me personally, that's what I do. I take the same size. So I don't know if Believe does something different, so she can also throw more lights there. But personally, I prefer to make all equal by button and my form inputs, so that I don't get a situation where I'll be looking like this one is bigger than this, or where I would easily notice it. So Believe.
Okay, yeah. For me, I like using the same thing, just like what you just said. I like using the same thing so that I will keep track or understand what I am doing. Just like what Boma said, it is very important, it is very important to make sure that every your input field and your buttons, for me, it's something that is organized and the look alike, so that mistakes comes, you can easily see it and then know what to do. So for me, I use the same the input field and the button of the height of my button and my input field is always the same.
Okay.
All right. So is there
that
any other
means
question? Okay, sorry, sir.
that means the width can also be longer, but the height should still maintain. If it's 45, I'm using for the height should be 45, but the width can be expanded.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other
Hello,
question?
everyone.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hello,
I
Ola.
have a question.
Okay.
First of all, amazing lecture. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
You mentioned using 45 as button height or input field height. Doesn't that go against the rule of using multiples of 8?
So I said the range should be within 45 to 60. So you can pick any number from there. So I'm not saying 45 is the standard. So it's within 45 to 60. Now for that multiple of numbers you're talking about, one thing you need to know is, like I've been saying it from the starting of this class, there's no right way. Because truth is, those people that set the laws are humans. And somebody came up and said, okay, this is 45 and it must be 45. And then you're designing, remember that you're designing for users. So imagine a situation, I've been asked this question several times, that remember we talk about testing, usability testing and all of that. And because there's a standard for input button, which, or let's say for instance, it's 48 or 46, that's a standard for instance, and you send it out for people to test, and then your users gives you feedback that this 45 or this is too small, and maybe they make suggestions. So remember that when you're testing, you give them suggestions, and maybe some of them, majority suggested that you should use 47 instead of as against the 46 that you used. Now the answer to the question is, are you going to actually agree to what your users are saying, or you would say this is the standard? So remember that in as much as we have standards for numbers, like I would always say, look at your designs, view your designs, maybe on other screens and all of that, view your designs. If you see that you used 45 and it's perfect, it's good. If you use 48 and it's perfect, it's good. And then when you give it out to your users and your users are suggesting something else, you're designing for your users. These are the people that would use it. You have to come back and do what they want. So it's not going against any law or anything. There's a standard. It should not be too big according to a particular law. It should not be too big, it should not be too small, it should just be moderate.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
Okay. Is there another question? Okay, so since there is no question, now that we've actually, are we to create the design system for ourselves, or you copy from somewhere else and edit? You would have to, if there's a tax on design system, you have to create it yourself. So you have to create it yourself, and you'll be given time to create that. You would not copy from another place. The only thing you're advised to carry from another place is icons. But any other thing, you have to do it yourself, because remember that your designs are peculiar. Once you create one, as long as you're the one that created it, you can be copying it as you like. Copy it as you like. Yes. So on your Figma board, always try as much as you can. I know that most persons don't do it. If you're designing for mobile app, download Figma Miru. Look at your phone, because sometimes what you see on the board on your laptop is far different from what is on the screen on your phone. So what I do is, if I'm designing for mobile, my Figma Miru is always on. So once I design, I look at it and see, because it's going to give you a feel of the phone. Then if I'm not doing for phone, I'm doing for laptop, what I do is, once I play it, I ensure that I fit it to I think fit to width also. One of the third option, I fit it there. Then I go side by side to check and reduce anything I need to reduce and all of that. So is there another question? Is there another question? Oh, okay. So let me stop recording.